Hi, I'm Life Coach Landry, and the topic is who has the best sex? Several factors determine how often we have sex and how satisfied we are. So besides consent and attraction, what does it take to have a mutually satisfying sex life? A study published in early 2016 in the Journal of Sex Research spelled out details as reported by men and women who reported the highest levels of satisfaction. More than 40,000 men and women living together in heterosexual relationships for at least 3 years plus were surveyed about their levels of sexual satisfaction and the behaviors most associated with the satisfaction. I think that the 3 years, the reason to note that is typical married couples who tend to lean towards falling out typically start to happen around 3 to 5 years when the dissatisfaction and divorces start to really pop up in marriages that aren't founded really well, that aren't going to last. So while most participants reported themselves to be sexually satisfied during their first 6 months of living together, only 55% of women and 43% of men reported feeling sexually satisfied at the time of the survey. The rest, 27% of women and 41% of men, were reportedly dissatisfied, while 18% of women and 16% of men felt neutral about their sex lives. You'll notice in that almost twice as many men felt dissatisfied with sex after being married. Participants filled out surveys and things that included scales to rate their level of passion now compared to when they first started having sex, and questions about sexual frequency, orgasms, consistency, oral sex, frequency, and sexual variety. And when it came to sexual variety, if that was part of what made them satisfied, the additional options for them were asked about activities they incorporated into their sex lives. Some people are vanilla sex. Some people don't need this. So they split the survey so they would ask people who need more versus people who like just the, getting on top, being on bottom, and doggy style. So this gave them a way to separate these people so they could still be calculated into the results appropriately. But the people who looked for variety, what the options they had separately on their sheet was using a vibrator, sex toy, wearing sexy, outfits and sexual contact in a public place, trying anal stimulation, trying, just any kind of thing, spanking, restraints, anything you'd see in 50 Shades of Grey. So, and who among this group had maintained their passion and had the highest level of satisfaction? As some might expect, those who had sex the most often and consistently enjoyed orgasms, those who received the most oral sex, and those whose sex lives were spiced with a variety of reporting. So basically lots of oral sex, consistent sex, and variety were the people who were the happiest. And those are 3 different categories. Okay. Some couples had a lot more oral sex, some couples had a lot more variety, and some couples had, but all 3 of those categories, people who fell into those were much happier than people who didn't. So mood setting and sexual communication also contributed. People who are sexual flirts with each other, while couples, an example of that be, your husband, your boyfriend, the person you're dating, your fiance, your girlfriend, your wife, your fiance. At work, you're trading some witty sexual stuff before you get home for the night, or sending pictures to each other while at work, things like that. Also contributed to higher satisfaction levels. So in other words, be with somebody compatible with you sexually, who enjoys the same type of sexual banter and physical chemistry and consistency of sex. Another study done, marital therapy focused on sex lives of men and women, specifically between the ages of 50 to 80, and came up with similar results. Not only do many older people have active sex lives, in case you doubted it, by the way, but those who do may be physically and mentally healthier than those who don't. The research report, although they may not have sex as often due to medical or biological issues or feel as sexually satisfied, obviously, as when they were younger, elders who were able to communicate their needs into their partners and who had an open sexual relationship and great communication and were in healthy relationships, not toxic ones, were actually shown to have higher IQs and still have sharper skills at their age than people who didn't. Simply having frequent sex doesn't predict great satisfaction. Clearly, quality counts in a person and the type of person you're with. But together, these studies sum up specific behaviors and attitudes that can result in a lot of things, right? I mean, it can result in, exciting and mutually satisfying sexual relationships. So one of the points I want to make here is there's 3 things you should pay attention to. Good, honest communication between partners, such as discussing sexual interests, desires, likes, dislikes, praising each other. In many cases, dealing with mild criticism still, like, hey, I like it better when you do it like this. And people who take that and go, oh, you do? Okay. Versus people who see that as something that makes them feel worse. The people that take criticism well in the sexual department have healthier relationships. That means you're willing to make your partner happier based on things you're hearing. So feedback's important to you versus people who are afraid to be criticized because it hurts them. The other one is mood settings, such as starting sex with sex talk, having a sense of humor about things that happen during sex, etc., and kissing. Women report 80% higher satisfaction when a male enjoys kissing them for longer than a couple of seconds. So men, that's a cue to you. If you're a passionate kisser out there, you've already got a lead on a lot of other men. And for the long term, not just when you're dating, any woman who's with a man who likes to kiss and kiss passionately, your relationship will be a lot better until the end of time. And my final point, varied sexual activity, such as changing positions and generally being more creative about sex, seems to help certain kinds of people feel a lot better about their sex life. So take those are your takeaways. If your sexual life is stagnant, if your sexual life is not the way you want it to be, or if you're trying to find out sexually what kind of person you are, feel free to contact me at the email below in the description. And if you just value the information that you got, you can show that appreciation by clicking on the donation link below, and I will talk to you soon.